r/AskReddit by Reddit. What's the best / worst attempt at cheating you've seen during a test? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Enjoy the video. College professor told us about a kid who came into his office crying the week of finals and telling him about how his grandparents were killed in a car accident and he wouldn't be able to take the final because the funeral was on the same day. Professor was a nice dude. He consoles this kid and tries to cheer him up and tells him not to worry about the final. A little later in the day, the professor is feeling bad and decides to try to get in touch with the guy's parents to offer his condolences. He calls the parents, who have no clue what he's talking about. Professor ended up calling the kid back to his office and calling student affairs up right then and there to report him for cheating. I believe the kid made a 0 on the final. You called my parents? My parents who are both battling early onset Alzheimer's? College prof. This is also the most impressed I have been with a college professor. Calc 3, multiple session, 80 students each, and on test day you could come in during any session that you wanted to take it. There were also 5 tests in the semester, and you can drop your lowest, i.e. you can throw your test away before grading. It was fairly common, unless you were trying not to take the final, so there were occasionally people that did not turn in the test before leaving. I was in the later section, and as the prof was handing out the test, he skipped over the blonde Canadian, and he was like, "You missed me." The prof said, "I gave it to you at the 8 AM section," and carried on. He had tried to go to the earlier section to get the test, learn all the answers / what is on it / have all day, and turn it in with the afternoon section. And this professor recognized who he had given a test to earlier out of 200 students. Then he became known as the blonde Canadian Dumbus. Holy crap, that's impressive. Basically the whole school knew of this method. I think it was developed over the years and passed on by older siblings / friends. Surely the teachers must have known, but it's hard to catch. On a multiple choice quiz with A, B, C, or D for answers, kids would gently rest or tap fingers on the desk to represent the answer, as if they are just pondering. 1 finger for A, 2 for B, 3 for C and 4 for D. Then was a system to say which question you were asking for, which was to grab, pull, stretch, or crack your fingers. Fist closed or complete open was 0. Left thumb to pinky was 1 to 5. Right thumb to pinky was 6 to 10. But 10 was ignored. You'd do the first digit twice and the second once. You'd only really ask people around you for odd questions and hope they give you the right answer. But for SATs, when we were about 16, this was potentially effective for improved guessing on questions you didn't know. In 8th grade I cheated a couple of times. First was on a state capital test. I literally asked my friend next to me what several state capitals were, and he told me. The teacher was right in front of both of us the whole time. Literally standing in front of my desk. We did not whisper. She was a bit clueless. Second was on the periodic table. We sat at those 3-person lab tables, and I was in the middle. I had a copy of the periodic table on my lap. The 2 girls on either side of me kept staring at my lap. The teacher noticed the staring and made a joking comment about what could be so distracting about my lap. The girls both turned beet red and stopped looking. Teacher did not think to check any further, and I aced the test. Oh, these teachers knew exactly what y'all were doing. They just didn't care enough to do anything about it. I was told about a kid in my niece's nursing program. Kid had a smartwatch where he could access data from his phone. Prior to the tests he'd put all of the data he needed where he could scroll through it on his watch. During the final the teacher asked for all phones to be turned off or you'll get a failing grade. Someone was texting the kid during the exam. The watch started making noises and the teacher realized he has been cheating all semester long. No idea what happened to the kid. This must have been when the Gen 1 Apple Watches and Samsung devices came out. Damn, at least put your watch on silence. Getting messy is what eventually gets you caught. The best, I used to take a tiny piece of paper that could fit in the palm of your hand and write down a bunch of answers I needed before the test. I wrote incredibly small and could pack a ton of info on it. I was one of the first ones to get the test because of where my desk was. While the teacher passed out the tests to my fellow students, I would quickly copy those answers to a blank area on the test paper, but did it softly so I could erase it with ease. Once I was done, I would just crumple the paper up and hide or get rid of it. It was tiny and was never seen, even when I threw it on the floor. A teacher stepped on it once and had no clue. The worst, not sure if it counts as worst cause the teacher didn't catch me, but I texted my mother 2 of the questions that had me stumped on a test. She surprisingly sent the answers back, and I was good. She wasn't mad cause I was in college, and that class was hard as balls. She's a cool mama. I want your mom to be mine. Had an open book exam at uni in first year of my bachelor's in engineering. For those who aren't familiar with the term, an open book exam for us basically meant we could scribble down some notes on an A4 sheet of paper of possible useful stuff to bring with us into the exam. I had equations not on the datasheet, useful values and whatnots. Guy near me strolled in with a print off of the answer sheet for the paper, not sure where he got it or why he didn't make a better attempt to disguising it. They're doing the rounds handing the papers out to them little individual desks, and our lecturer comes round and just stops at this guy's desk and says at the top of his voice, "Wait a minute, this is the answer sheet," and just strips the whole thing into shreds and bins it. Not sure how the guy did on the exam. Back in high school we were doing this psychology exam, for which our teacher had a special classroom arrangement. She made us distance our desks in order to make it harder to peek at our classmates' answers, and she would walk around the classroom like a sentinel, looking for the slightest evidence of cheating. You know she was serious about this stuff. Around 30 minutes into the exam, she suddenly stopped next to a classmate just ahead of me and politely asked him to open his pencil case. We all knew this lad was screwed and were just expecting him to take out a small paper with some answers scrawled on it. He took about 10 full book pages ripped straight from the book. Not even copies, but the original ones. I was so surprised by his bravado I let out a hyena-like cackle, cause I couldn't believe the audacity. The teacher silenced me without a single word, just looking back at me with one of the sternest faces I've ever seen. Cheating boy got sent to our prefect's office, and we never got to know what his punishment was, since you know, he wouldn't mention a damn thing after. During HS, in the early 2000s, I used to record myself reading the entire study guide of my test on a voice recorder with a small cassette tape. I would then listen to it with a single wired earbud while testing, filling in the answers as I would hear them. As a precaution, I would wear a hoodie with an old school CD player in the front pocket just in case the teacher happened to see the earbud. A couple of times I was caught red-handed, but would pull the CD player out and tell them I was just listening to music. They would take the CD player and return it to me at the end of class. Must be so much easier nowadays with smartphones. This isn't possible these days, unfortunately. Now that people have started doing this with smartphones, my university now requires everyone to take off hats and hoods and remove any and all electronic devices from your person. The best attempt I've seen was in high school. We were supposed to bring our tests up to the teacher's desk when finished and leave them on her desk. She got distracted with something in the back of the room after one of the really smart kids in the class had turned his in, so it was unattended at the teacher's desk. One of the lazier kids took his blank test to the front and copied down every answer real quick. The teacher never suspected a thing apparently. The worst I've seen was in college. Taking online quizzes in the Campsie computer lab, a bunch of geniuses figured they would Google the answers. The professor of course was able to see all the searches being run from the lab, so they all got caught immediately. He thought it was funny, so he told the class about it and warned them not to try it again. Well, here's my story of cheating, not about a stupid taker, but as a stupid administrator. My freshman year of high school, I was in a Spanish class with the most oblivious teacher I've ever seen. I cheated on every test just by using Google Translate on my phone, as did everyone else in the class. Things got interesting however when we had our final. At my high school, we had allotted times at the end of the year for finals, and one of my friends, probably the best Spanish speaker in the class, had to miss finals week, so he had filled out a test the previous week and given it to the teacher. The reason this is important is because the teacher had somehow photocopied his completed test on the back of the blank one he gave all of us. So the first half was the blank version, and the second half was the test with all the answers circled. The teacher realized halfway through the test and went around ripping off the back half, but I had already filled out my Scantron, taken off the back half of the test, and put it into my backpack. He graded it a week later, and I got a 94%. The best part is that there were 6 classes taking the test, I was in the first class, and I could sell the answers. Thank you for watching Reddit. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit videos. Share your stories in the comment section below.